you a future. That's what he needs to focus on.
Breezy, I know you want to get in on this. Your thoughts on DFS still being here? Marx's timing, and I know you wanted. What else is on your mind?
Yeah, I did. Thanks for having me on the show. For the most part, I just wanted to say I don't want to pretend like Jordy Fernandez didn't change the identity of this team. Everybody promoted about what players we were going to have on this team, and it's still again more emphasis on what players is going to be on this team. But the impact that Jordy Fernandez has isn't the same that Jacqueline or Steve Nash had because with them, it was just. I mean, it's not the same thing. And if we could agree on that, to what magnitude we agree on it. Now, I'll take it to the max for the simple fact that, again, these quote unquote draft picks that are not high, besides Ben Simmons, who's number one, ironically, right? But at the end of the day, this team is not known for being successful because of high draft picks. But yet, they're 9 and 10. And okay, what did we contribute that to? You see the ball moving, you see the ball popping, you see plays being made, you see Cam Thomas not being a chuck, you see him get everybody buying into Jordy Fernandez coaching style. So again, I got so much confidence in Jordy Fernandez. I think what happens. But because I got confidence in him, this is what the same thing that I was saying the entire time. I thought we was going to win the championship because I didn't know they was going to fire Steve Nash. I mean, fire Kenny Atkinson and hire Steve Nash. I didn't know they was going to do that. You know what I'm saying? Pardon me. So case in point is I felt like with Kenny Atkinson being the coach, case to see what Cleveland doing. Basically, what Cleveland doing. There's an echo. Something like an echo.
John, is that you, John? Can you check? Can you check and see if that's you?
I'll get out and go back in. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll come back in.
I want to bring it to Breezy too. Breezy, your thoughts on DFS still being here and now saying we're going to lower the asking for him? Should he have been gone already? And your thoughts on Marx's timing in general?
I think raising their stock is good before trade deadline. Raise it high as possible to see what contender they want to go to. I know they're gonna get multiple choices. Sean Marks, he said he didn't do appease Macau, but I think he did. I think he did what he wanted to do with KD to try to appease him for these players to go where he want to go. I think he does the same thing with DFS. You know what I'm saying? I think that, he's going to get multiple teams that want, and they're going to, decide like that. But I do think us strengthening the draft, like say we do want to, keep playing well, and we do want to take the draft picks and kind of like make sure we get a protected pick in the top 10 or some shit like that. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I do think that's what we trying to do. Might try to do, Gary. I think you wait to raise state stock because before this season, DFS wasn't shooting well. We all know that. So his trade stock is low. But if he plays well with the Brooklyn Nets, and you know what I'm saying, I think for in October, November, and now you know what I'm saying, maybe early December, his trade value go up, and then he get to choose where he want to go. So I think that he is going to get traded. They're just, taking a while about it, especially when Noah Clowney getting injured. So, it just makes sense for him to stay. It makes sense for him to stay here for now, but I do think he eventually gets traded.
Let me bring the question back to LB on the same thing. Dorian Finney-Smith, he's still here. I mean, did Marks blow this? Are we going to have to take a greatly reduced package now? Give me your thoughts on what Marks did here.
Yeah, I think the timeline is a little bit off because I seem to remember that when we made the trade and we got DFS, it was immediately following that time. During that same season, the same season that Mikal had the 27 games where he, played like Durant, it was during that time that a team reached out and said, we want DFS for the stretch run. We'll give you 2 firsts. The following year, he didn't get that kind of offer for DFS again. I think it was like he had to strike right at that time, but he didn't because I want to see what we have in DFS first. And that's where he blew it. But I mean, last year, I don't think any team was offering 2 firsts for DFS. So I think the timing is off a little bit. Now, the fact that he didn't have the best year last year and he started out really hot from three, and then we started losing, and then that kind of hurt his value. I think that trying to get more than a first round pick is crazy, because I think that what we really should be looking at is not so much the compensation, but he's in the way. He's in the way of other guys playing, and that's what I think is the problem. And I think that the sooner we can deal him, for the first team that offers us a first rounder or 2 second rounders or whatever. Let's just get rid of him so that we can let these other guys play and see what we have in them who we're developing. That's the important part. And then the other thing, I was chomping at the bit when Breezy was going, because I was saying, man, there's no way. I mean, Jordy Fernandez has been phenomenal as a coach and a motivator and all that this year. But what I'm saying is, when we look at tanking, is not so good. Tanking is not so much that. Don't you think the Spurs knew they had a great coach in Popovich? That didn't stop them from tanking for Wemby. You know what I mean? That didn't even stop them from tanking to finish in the top in the top 6 or so last year when they got.
So all right, so
So
LBL, let me ask
yeah,
you. So what's the equivalent of trading DeJounte Murray and Podol? Because that's what they did to Tank. They traded those two players.
yeah. So that meant that
I want to comment
Murray
on one
was
thing. The
his
year
best
that
player.
the year that San Antonio tanked to get Wemby, they started that season off 5-2. Now I know we're a little deeper into the season than that, but I want you guys to remember that. Like, it's not too. If tanking is the goal, it's not too late to tank. You can lose a lot of games.
I agree. But what I'm saying is,
Yeah, they traded
that's-
Podol after they had a winning record. I was like, yo, why they trade him? And I didn't even know about the draft and them looking for Wemby at the time, but because trading Podol at the time didn't make sense, because I knew he played good basketball.
But ask
And
yourself, was it worth it?
Getting Wemby,
To get
I
Wemby.
imagine so. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm trying to say. If this is a generational draft, then it's worth it to us to continue to tank. Yeah, I'm saying, because you can still develop players while you're tanking. That's not the issue. People feel like it's one or the other, and it's not one or the other. You can still develop good players while you're tanking. Things happen. You rest players here, you play more players there, and then you trade off your veterans, and it still happens. So I think that people who want us to be in a play-in, I don't think that you're looking at the bigger, better picture for the Nets for the next 10 years when you do that, or even the next 5 years when you do that. Because Jordy is a great coach, but when you have other teams that have more talent plus a decent coach, they're gonna beat the F out of us when it counts.
LB, let me ask you this. I agree. The Nets definitely don't have the horses to win the race. I agree with you, right? But like, Sean Marks is a guy that has shown that he'd rather be right, he'd rather be right than win, right? And if he can take this team to the play-in, and let's say they get the 8th seed and they're in the playoffs and they get swept by Boston, he's going to say in his mind, I did a great job. I took this team with a G League roster into the playoffs. That's what his thought pattern is.
Then he should be fired after.
Thank you.
That's
seriously.
Seriously.
I mean, you have control your own pick, and you're like, I'm fine with the playoff and getting a first round exit. That's despicable.
I'm going to go a step further and say, Net fans who agree with that kind of mentality, y'all should be fired as Net fans too.
I'm gonna disagree with that. Like, look,
hold on. What?
Because we want to. I'm gonna let. Go ahead. Yeah, Breezy, get in there, Breezy. I know you disagree with that.
Yeah, because I just sound like a sub. And I was bewildered. Hold on. What I will say is, I like to see winning, and at the end of the day, I know coaching is contributed to a lot of that, and I don't want that. I don't want fans or even Cat. I don't want y'all to get it misconstrued or where I'm at with this. Coaching is more important than just having superstars on your team. Superstars that y'all going to have to develop. And I think you're the same one that said you want to do that for AJ DeBancher too. But again, like I said, since the winning is happening expeditiously because of the coaching, respectfully. We see the summer league. If you were a Nets fan, you see Keon, you see all of these players in the summer league, or you see them before the season started. You see the potential there. You knew this was player development. They not, you know what I mean? They trust me. They fully aware of this. They going out there. They playing their hardest. They trying to stay in the NBA. Like y'all talking about taking this and that. And again, I'm talking about winning. And y'all making it seem like only winning is contingent on the statistics. You're like, oh, look at the stats and look at the facts about how all of these players got to come from the draft. I never went against the draft, but two things could be true. I said, don't put it all on the players. I think coaching is 45% or more contributed to a winning championship roster. And I stand on that. So again, we got the 45% from Jordy Fernandez. I do think we need the talent, Gary. I'm not. But to lose on purpose is crazy. But to do it the way the Spurs did it, so that would mean you trade DeJounte Murray, then you trade Schroeder. You trade Podol, then you trade DFS and Cam Johnson. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get it.
Yeah, me too.
I want to piggyback of what, and then Harlem putting it. If you encourage losing, you should be fired as a Nets fan. Like, I agree with both sides. Like, I think Harlem's right. Like, we're fans. You root to win, right? You don't root to lose. Like, I said before the season started, like, there's no reason to root for losses. The Nets are going to lose a ton of games organically because they're not very good. And now you're seeing, like Breezy said, you have the coach. Once you have the coach, if you just give me guys that can ball, and look, if you're at this level, you can ball. And Jordy's showing that. Like, everyone shows up, right? Schroeder's a pro. You got guys like Zaire and Keon and Tyrese Martin who are having great games, and they're winning off of that. Mm-hmm. They're not obviously they're not a championship team, but if you're developing these guys and you're winning, that means these are good pros. You're gonna have a ton of cap space, and you still have those picks. You can still get more good pros. Why not go with what you have and then just sign that superstar free agent?
Gary, would you as a Nets fan live with regret if we break this team up and you in the back of your mind you felt like, yo, we could have really did something if we kept that team and did X, Y, and Z and went another route opposed to a high draft pick? Again, I'm only trying to play a Nets fan advocate because when you look at Zion Williamson, see what pick he was. Is he doing that in that 4-year time span since he's been in the league? Did he elevate his team? I'm like I said, I'm just playing Net fan advocate, just playing both sides of it, you know what I mean? We just having a conversation, but I'm just saying that to say that even though it's projected, was Jordan projected to be this? Was it this much hype about Jordan? He was the third pick. You feel what I'm saying? Like, again, you don't know what you're going to get. There's more prospects than the top 3 picks. And I don't want Nets fans to live and die on the hill saying we only going to have a championship roster because of those top 3 picks. I'm not with y'all on that. That's a fact. If y'all go to talk about players like
can I just say one thing, Breezy? You and I talk really good basketball, but I would be regretful as a fan and somebody who analyzes the game if we really did not get a crack at a Cooper, Ace, or Harper. If we missed out on those 3 guys for however decades you want to talk about Brooklyn basketball, we as fans would have failed the organization if we were okay with that. Same with Sean Marks. He would be the worst GM that ever lived if he actually let the opportunity slip him by when he has control of his own pick. The fact he made a championship squad out of 0 picks is quite extraordinary. But the fact that he would actually allow these 3 guys, 3 top franchise prospects, mind you, to go to any other team, especially in the East, and the Nets wind up with a 20th pick again, that would be regretful, I think, on every Brooklyn person's mind.
Yeah, no, 20th pick is crazy, John. 20th pick is crazy.
No, but Breezy, because there was some. Wait, can I say Breezy? There were some people before Thomas got hurt. They were saying, you know what, this team is on fire. We have a great coach. Everybody's playing well. Then Thomas got hurt, and everybody's tune changed quickly. They're like, oh damn, maybe we should think about the draft. You should never have had your mind off the draft because you need pieces. Cam Thomas is not the only piece that can win you a championship. You need a top 3 or top 2 to win you a championship. So getting an Ace, Cooper, or Harper to pair with a Thomas, that should be the main goal this season now.
I just want to talk about some of, and we'll put Wemby to the side because he hasn't developed yet, right? We don't but let's look at some of the other top-notch, can't miss, and they've been good. Has Zion brought a championship to New Orleans?
No.
Has Ant brought a championship to Minnesota?
Well, let's say this: he's changed he's changed the direction of that
He's
franchise.
gonna ask for a trade at the end of the season, which means he won 2 playoff rounds, right? Ant's an amazing player, so it's not like they missed on the pick. They got the pick exactly right.
No,
and
yeah,
that's
they
my
did.
point. They got the pick right, and it still didn't equate to a whole bunch of winning. Ant's gonna ask for a trade at the end of the season. Like I already see that coming.
Talk your shit, Gary.
Keep
Talk
going.
your shit, Gary.
Ben Simmons was supposed to be the next LeBron James. Did he bring a chip to Philly? Like
Talk your shit, Gary.
bringing it in one superstar is not it's going to bring you a chip, right? Like Patrick Ewing didn't bring a chip to New York, right? They had to get the coach,
But
Pat
he
Riley,
did.
and then they got close. But without Pat Riley, like Breezy said, they were a 500 team hitting on the pick. They were the 8th seed that got embarrassed by the Bulls in the first round. Then they brought Pat Riley in, and Riley was able, and then they had Van Gundy and so on and so on. But they had to get the coach right.
And they never
Had to get the coach right.
But one thing with the Knicks is they never brought in any more. They've never brought in any more players. They only decided to build around Patrick, and so they passed up on a lot of players because they were sort of trying to be in that win now thing. So that was a problem for them as well. So, but what I'm saying is, when you look at the teams around here that are contenders, you know, they have lottery talent around them. And one of the things that's really conspicuous, and I would say one of the things that's ironic, is we're talking about Zaire and we're talking about Keon, and both of them were picked in front of Cam Thomas. So that goes to show you that it's not saying that lottery picks are a sure thing, but it's probably the safer thing to do, and that's what I'm saying. The safer thing.
So hold on. I would
top 5 guys.
Let me agree.
We had Anthony Bennett on our team. We had that guy from Kansas. What was that guy from Kansas?
Even when they picked Anthony Bennett number 1, everyone knew that was the worst pick ever. Like there was no surprise.
What about the other guy from Kansas?
The Italian guy?
No, the power forward we had. Remember
Thomas Robinson?
Yeah, T-Rob. He was.
He was a good player. The game was changing, and he
was what he was. He was Jalen Wilson back then, right?
He was a really good rebounder, man. Like it was just the game was starting to change. It's like when Philly took Okafor. Okafor was a good player with a lot of skills, but the game was changing and it was phasing him out. Like Okafor really wasn't a bad pick. It's just that the game changed and it evolved him out of the game.
Yeah. So this is what I'm saying, though. I mean, and is it really the game changing as much as it's the coaching changing? The coaching is changing the way the game is being played. It's really not so much. I mean, coaches are getting together. And Gary, since you're a longtime guy, you know what this reminds me of? After Detroit won, because the thing that happened with Pat Riley is he was so freaking stubborn. He said, I don't want to win the Showtime Lakers style anymore. The only way I want to win is like bruising defense like Detroit did when they
did that. Yeah.
And so he kept the team like that. He never got Ewing a second offensive weapon, and they were limited.
Well, I mean, okay, he didn't get him a second, but Derek Harper was a damn good player. And now he played a role and he was aging. But Derek Harper was a damn good player, was he not? In the
Definitely.
80s, he was a damn good player.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but they needed another scorer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they did. You're right. And that was evident in the Rocket series. Yeah.
And so, but here's what I'm saying. But to go off of that and say, this is what I'm saying. You know, we really need guys who, you know, like these guys. I'm not opposed to if we draft the 4 draft picks and we trade all the veterans. We draft the 4 picks and then we re-sign the top guys. I'm not saying kick off Keon, kick off Zaire, kick off Jalen Wilson. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is it's ridiculous to think that, you know, we have to keep them if the guys that we come in the draft might be better than them and deserve more minutes than them. That's all I'm saying is like I'm trying to be even-handed, you know, because we
can I say Gary? Can I say this to Cat?
Yeah, go ahead.
What I'm saying is, at the end of the day, Nets fan, you know what I mean? Listen, you can't morale is not in the box score. effort and how much morale you play with, purpose, effort, morale, passion, want to play here, not just here for a check, and not just showing up to work, but actually there putting it 110%, caring about the win, celebrating with Tyrese Martin in the locker room after the 30-point game, all of that stuff. All of that, Bill, getting the benchmark back. Do we got the benchmark back? Because it looked like it. You feel what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is keeping that culture. If they could keep that culture and go whatever direction they're gonna go, I'm gonna just trust it as a Nets fan. But
All right. So
to
here's what I'm.
act,
Here's
but
I'm
you
what I'm
saying,
can't
gonna
ask.
say.
You
Here's
can't
what I'm
ask
gonna say.
players not to compete. You especially when,
Who's
again, like
asking
I
them not
said,
to
Jordan.
compete? No, I'm
So
saying you play as
so
hard as you can. You try to win every game. There's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't mean that you're not thinking. You try to win and you try to be your best on the court. I would never tell a professional player to be less than his best. Just like a coach, you're at your best. You do all of that. But Sean Marks is behind there. He's supposed to make the moves that help us to tank. That's what it is. It has
yeah, so
nothing
you
to do
saying
with
Schroeder? So
shenanigans.
you cool with trading Schroeder, basically?
Definitely.
Okay.
He's not.
I'm,
He's not playing tonight.
I'm
He's out for personal reasons, which
yeah,
is
he's out.
sus because he's been so impactful. So now, if this team doesn't
Mhm.
win without Shooter tonight, Shooter's trade value should go up even more because if they can't win without him, you should get more for Shooter than what some people think you're going to get
I
for him. So
want to put
that's
this
going to be
question.
interesting
I
tonight.
want to put this question out here to
Yeah.
LB and John. I need to grab something real quick, and I want to let you two
Mhm.
guys answer it.
All right.
New Orleans hit the lottery twice, made the right pick both times. AD and Zion, the right pick, best player, and they got the number one pick. That didn't equate to much winning. I don't even think they won a playoff series with those guys. Did they even win one series with those guys? They didn't, right? So, I mean, does hitting on that pick, does that equal winning? Because I just gave you New Orleans. We did
Mm.
it twice, hit the
Mm.
lottery twice, made the right pick both times, and it didn't equate to much winning. I'll let
all right,
both of you guys answer that.
but then we can say, well, Paulo probably uplifted that team, right? So it's like, what are we gonna do? We're gonna go team for team, year for year, whether a draft pick uh, impacted the team or not. To me, New Orleans made a mistake.
Yeah.
They made a great move in getting Anthony Davis. Then I thought they made an even better move when they traded and got Boogie Cousins. But I felt like they should have kept those two together. They didn't want to re-sign Boogie Cousins, and
Right.
so when they gave him up, that took away their advantage because you had Boogie Cousins and Anthony Davis on the same team, and both of them can go out and shoot from three, and both of them can score inside. You had a devastating 1-2 twin tower punch that would have worked if they would have gave it more time. But they didn't want to sign both of those guys to max deals.
Right. And like you said, I think they were smart with the Davis move because they got a lot of assets for him. But the Zion one was a complete backfire because recent news came out that he fired his representation because he never wanted to be in the Pelicans to begin with. He wanted to be in New York, a big market city. Like Zion, he was the big name coming out of Duke. He didn't want to be in a small market like the Pelicans. And so far, he's made himself unhealthy. He's been injured so much. He seems like he doesn't really care. He called out the coach last year saying his role wasn't set. So, like the Pelicans, they kind of put himself in that hole. They thought getting Zion would bring them great fortune, but it turns out this guy didn't want to bring any fortune to them. He wanted to bring fortune to a bigger market. So, for these smaller market teams, I would say the pressure is even more intense because if you get one of these top guys and it turns out they don't even want to be there, you really got to feel bad for the organization. But at the same time, the organization should feel bad for themselves that they
But
made an
John,
investment that brought them nothing.
I got a little
But
net
not,
story to
but
tell you. You know what it is, right? In 1996, we were John Calipari and the Nets Brain Trust. They really wanted to draft Kobe, but then Kobe's agent said no, he doesn't want to play. He doesn't want to
Mm-hmm.
play in New Jersey, right? So
Right.
they drafted the safe pick. They drafted Kerry Kittles, a senior, the eighth pick, right? But
Mm-hmm.
then afterwards, when Kobe was asked, like because they were talking about, well, Kobe, he's international. He might go play in Italy. He might do this or that. But when they asked Kobe, would you have played if the Nets had drafted you? He said, "Oh hell yeah." So you see what I'm saying? It's like you can't blink. You got to call it bluff, man.
Yeah, the worst thing you could have done was traded Kobe. I mean, and Charlotte got Vlade Divac for him, who was a borderline all-star caliber player. So you would have got something for him, even if you didn't want to play for you. So the Nets should have drafted him.
He got drafted like 14th or so, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
In a deep draft, but he was better
the best ever.
Half of the guys. He was better than half of the guys, but he kept telling people, "I'm not going to play for you. I'm not going to play for you." He manipulated the draft, and sometimes you got to just have the cojones to stand up and say, "No, we don't care. We're drafting you anyway."
Yeah, and the Nets should have drafted him, and they didn't. And he would have been fine. And was it the next year they got the number 2 pick, and it was either Duncan or Van Horn, and the Nets got stuck with Van Horn because they got the 2 pick, not the 1 pick. It's like you lost out on Kobe and Duncan in back-to-back years. That was tough. And I remember the year that we got Van Horn. Everyone was like, "Oh no, it's okay. Van Horn is a franchise." You remember this?
Yeah.
Oh, they called him Van Franchise. Like, "Oh, he's gonna be the." It's like you lost on Duncan, but you got Van Horn. That's just as good. It's like, I don't know about that.
Oh, the eye twitch is perfect, man.
Listen, you know what I want to say, and just to to kind of let y'all know where I stand at with this too, is these players see what Jordy Fernandez is doing this first year as a head coach, and they're gonna want to play for a coach like that. Play for a coach that's going to give you the opportunity. They're looking at it like, look at Tyrese Martin. Look what he's doing for his career. All of these players are playing good under Jordy's umbrella. A player that's going to get drafted is going to want to play for Jordy Fernandez because they're going to trust him with their career, with his NBA career. They don't, like you just said, Zion ain't even want to go to New Orleans Pelicans. And so most times that be because of the coaching. Like, I don't want to play for that coach. That's what they really trying to say. Right. But they don't want to come out to the media. And we could say that because we on podcasts, but they can't say that in front of the media. You can't just out your coach like that. That's crazy in the NBA. You feel what I'm saying? But we on podcasts, so we could, you know what I mean? Keep it real, keep it for real. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's my opinion, but that's how I look at it. You know what I mean? Again, look at Ant-Man. Like you said, I agree with Gary. He in Minnesota. He ain't win it. They got to the Western Conference. If they don't win it now, he probably out of there. He just said the other day, he said not to other teams, but we soft internally. If you on TV calling your team soft any type of way, yeah, I got to agree with Gary, bro.
Yeah, but there's an elephant in the room.
Children. He said this is like children can't even talk to each other. Like, that's huge to say something like that.
There's an elephant in the room that you're not looking at when you talk about the Minnesota situation. Now, just the fact that you said he said we're soft. Who is the team with the 3 or 4 time defensive player of the year there?
Rudy Gobert.
Exactly. He's the problem.
I said that when they made the trade.
That was a disaster when they made the trade. We all knew that. They just thought it put him over the top. It's like, well, we'll win today and we'll pay.
But they wanted to get under. They traded Cat because Cat had the longer deal. He had the longer, heavier deal. And then I think Gobert's is up after next year. So they're trying to say, please, Ant-Man, hang on. We're going to get rid of this guy. And then we'll be able to start with you and Randall and whoever and Dillingham.
They actually re-upped him. Wait, LBL. They actually gave him a new contract before the season started, Rudy Gobert. Or I think it was a month ago. They gave him a whole new deal. So he ain't going anywhere right now.
Sure about that?
Unfortunately.
But Minnesota traded
they gave him a new contract.
They traded all their picks to get Rudy, right? And then they got rid of Cat, and now they're gonna get rid. Like, there's nothing. When you get rid of Rudy's contract, there's nothing left, and there's no picks to trade for a star. Like, you gave everything up for Rudy. So, like, what do you have that's gonna here and you're entering your absolute physical prime, and now we're gonna rebuild. It's like.
No,
if
I'm Ant-Man, I'm bouncing. I'm going to Brooklyn. Now. I'm going to Los Angeles. I'm going to a big market. Minnesota screwed themselves again. Badly. And not to mention, A-Rod wants to buy the team. Why would I want to work for a guy who's part of one of the biggest steroid eras in sports history? Thanks. I'm good.
Because A-Rod is a superstar who's made almost $1 billion in professional sports. So I think that's a selling feature. Like, do you want to be a millionaire, Ant, or do you want to be a billionaire like me? Which one do you want?
He wants to win a championship, and it ain't Minnesota right now.
Here's my sales pitch from A-Rod. Listen,
You know what?
you're going to win a championship
Gary,
anyway. You're
yeah,
Ant-Man.
Gary,
You
real
want to be a
quick.
millionaire? You want to be a billionaire?
Oh,
Gary, real
can-
quick. You know
Yeah.
what John said that I feel is incorrect, and I feel like he owns this from his heart, but I feel like it's incorrect. He doesn't understand that players don't want a championship more than they want $1 billion.
That's a lot of money, John. That's a lot
Yeah,
of money.
you gotta
But wait,
Yeah,
but
nah, that's
LBO,
true.
that's
this is
what
a guy that
fans
people
want.
last season would call Michael Jordan. I didn't believe a lick of it. But when I saw the way Anthony Edwards took down his childhood hero, Kevin Durant, 4 straight, and then went toe-to-toe with Nikola Joker and beat him, I mean, for a guy of this kid's stature to beat 2 former champs, 2 MVPs, 2 of the top 5 players in the league, that kid, if this is a current team that got him on, they say, oh, just wait a year, 2, 3 years, we'll get you a contending team.
I'm saying some guys are just like you
Right now
really
want to
have
build pieces around him, he should go scout the market for his future, not think about the team's future.
No,
yeah,
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think Ant's going to be on Minnesota much longer. I think
probably not.
Yeah, nah. Yeah, and again, I just want to say, also in the interview and in the thing they had for Cam Thomas and Cobble Hill, where they had a whole movie for him, he said that Brooklyn is like his second home. That's who you give the bag. That's who want to sign. You should give the extension to. That's who should get the contracts. Because again, with the players being vocal on these podcasts or in front of the media speaks volumes, and it could tell you whether or not they want to play for that franchise. You know what I'm saying? I think Cam Thomas wants to play for this franchise. Some players are just doing business, but and they know they're going to be, you know what I mean, moved around. But I heard him say that out his mouth verbatim that he called Brooklyn as his second home because he got here when he was 19 years old. He's 23. He's still a kid too. You know what I mean? He's young. So I just wanted to say that with Ant-Man saying that, Cam Thomas is over here saying this about the Brooklyn Nets. He calling us the second home. He said, I do what I do for the fans. He said, that's what motivate me. He said, the fans motivate me. He said, it's not, so I like to play well, especially when I'm at the Barclays. So
I think there's a rift between Marks and Thomas, and it might be irreparable.
Right.
But I feel like all the leaks that came out that said, hey, even Cam Thomas averaging 25 a game is available. I feel like that was Mark's minions who leaked that. I feel like he did that on purpose.
Here's what I want to ask, right? And it's a perfect segue. And I know what the answers are going to be, but I want to hear from everyone first. So I agree. Cam Thomas and Sean Marks has a rift. You can only keep one. Who are you keeping? Breezy, I'll start with you. One's got to go. You can keep one. Cam Thomas and Sean Marks. Who are you keeping? Who's leaving?
Oh man, that's hilarious. I think you need a GM. You know what I'm saying? But I think at the end of the day,
GM.
oh, I'm breaking up right now.
No, I got you.
Oh, all right. No, I think you need a GM. You know what I mean? I don't think that you should value Cam Thomas, but just productivity to what Cam Thomas does. I think it's a tough question because you need a GM. You know what I'm saying? At the beginning, Sean Marks hired Jordy Fernandez. So you know what I mean? If you ask him what Sean Marks do, he hired Jordy Fernandez. So that's pretty good. To be honest with you, I don't think Jordy Fernandez gonna let Cam Thomas get traded. I think he got something to say about it. And I can't. I can never trade Cam Thomas. I can't. I ain't saying trade Sean Marks. I don't think you can trade a GM. But I ain't trading Cam Thomas. So I don't know, man. I hope I answered that question, man.
I want to address Oren, and I'm going to get to LB and John. Oren says, well, we can't get anything for Sean Marks, so trade CT.
Oh, man.
No, CT has value to this team. CT is a positive, a net positive to this team. Sean Marks is a net negative. So it's addition by subtraction. You get better when you get rid of Sean Marks. John, go ahead. I know how, CT or Sean Marks. One stays, one goes. Who are you keeping?
Obviously, we have a Sean Marks problem, and Cam Thomas has kind of been more of a solution this season, so I really wouldn't want to get rid of Thomas right now. But it's a complicated question because at the end of the day, Thomas has bought into Jordy's system. He's done everything Jordy's told him to do. He's improved on the things that I set a barometer for this season. He's definitely met all those so far, but at the end of the day, it's also a business. And the sad thing is, as good as Cam Thomas is trying to be, you got media people that want to make this kid one of the most polarizing figures in basketball history. He's only 23 years old. And Marks, unfortunately, I think he feeds into that stuff. He goes, hey, I want a star that media outlets respect, that markets want to build around. And the sad thing is, I think as good as the fan base, Jordy, his teammates all want to see, and even players around the league, the Kevin Durant's, Paul George's, you name it, who all see Thomas as a rising star in this league. Sean Marks seems to be one of those only people who's like, he's not a star that I want to build around, maybe a second or third star, but that's also a mistake with Sean Marks. He never realizes the good value until it's gone. He never realizes the bad value until it's on this team for longer than it should be, like with Doe and these other guys who are now trying to get off this team. So I think at the end of the day, we should have a new GM because we need a GM that actually can plan 2 to 3 years down the line, not just bring us on a roller coaster ride every year. We don't know where the end result's ever going to be. So I think right now with Sean Marks, if he wants to save his job, get the vets off this team, get us a top 3 pick, re-sign Thomas, and we'll let everything else decide itself after this season. That's the goal. And if Sean Marks can't handle it, bye-bye, Sean.
How is there any saving his job? DFS is still here. Camden is still here. We're now going to get less. Why is him keeping his job? Because he hired Jordy? But why is he – and that was the right hire. Why
John, give him a yes or no.
Why is keeping Sean Marks an option? It's not on the table.
You should ask Joe Desai that. You should ask Joe Desai because Sai, who should be more on-hand basketball with everything, seems like he's still sitting in the corner letting Sean try to figure all this out. But it's like you have your own draft pick, and now people are saying, you know what? Let's let that roll wherever it rolls. We don't need a top 3 pick. Ace, Cooper, and Harper, they're not franchise prospects. They're just guys who are just going to have good stats. No! We have a chance to actually redefine our future for the first time in Brooklyn history. Like, Sean needs to get all this right, and if he can, he should be out the door right now. I agree with you on the Ben Simmons of it all. Why is Simmons still playing on this team and not sitting at home collecting his money till he's off the team? Great questions. And ultimately, yes, Sean Marks shouldn't be a GM on this team, LBL. I've been against Sean Marks since he did a lot of these wacky-ass steals. But at the end of the day, I want to put someone who can control.
You're taking Cam over Marks, right? You're taking Cam over Marks, right?
100%.
I definitely am. I definitely am.
I'm taking Keon Johnson over Marks. If Keon Johnson and Marks had it.
Yeah, this.
Why did you say Gary?
Because I'm saying John sounded like a politician. He's telling us all this stuff, and he's saying, well, if this and this and that. He just wanted an answer. Marks or Cam, which one?
I gave you the answer. I said I'm ready to be done with Marks. I'll keep Cam. But at the end of the day, with Thomas, his future is unpredictable on this league. I can't give a firm answer until he gets re-signed. If I want to keep it 100 with you as a politician.
But that's what it is. Like, so the question is, one goes forever and one gets an extension.
Said 100 as a politician. I'm crying.
Thomas,
new T-shirt idea, Breezy.
I keep Thomas. I get rid of Marks. And I still think.
I want to address this real quick. So Sean got us KD and Kai. No, he didn't. Kai wanted to play for the Nets because he was a Nets fan. KD wanted to play with Kai. It's like saying Dan Gilbert got Cleveland LeBron James. No, LeBron wanted to go home and play for Cleveland.
And Adar says I'm talking BS.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with Marks. If I was the GM, if Breezy or LB or John was the GM, we would have landed Kai and KD because Kai wanted to go there and KD wanted to play with Kai.
I see he didn't put in. He also got us. DeAndre Jordan.
DeAndre Bembry, Blake Griffin, Patty Mills, Joe Harris. Like I could do this over. He traded KD for Mikal and Cam Johnson. Then
but if you believe what SL said here, then you also believe that crap that Kevin Durant said the other day. I'm a net for life. Like, get the F out of here. You don't.
Why not on this team,
you don't demand. You don't quit on your team and demand a trade from us, and then say you're a net for life. Get the F out of here.
No, I agree with you, and I like KD as a Longhorn fan. He's like one of my favorite players ever. That season he had at Texas was one of the best collegiate seasons ever. I mean, it was incredible.
Yep.
And, I like KD, but yeah, you quit on the team. You demanded a trade twice, and the second time they finally gave it to you, which I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have gave Harden a trade either. I would have told Harden, no, we're not trading you.
And we
KD
paid him a
comes back in
year
a
for
couple-
nothing. We paid him a year to rehab.
You know
Yeah.
what's even worse? Look at the contracts we had to go off of. DeAndre Jordan, Joe Harris, Patty Mills. We had to give up like 8 second-round draft picks to get off of these contracts. Like Marks has even done worse with damage control jobs because you've actually cost us assets that we could have probably used to make winning moves down the line when we still had the big three. Like Marks' biggest problem is he just goes for it when he thinks the time is right in his mind, when the timing isn't right. So now you actually have a chance to redefine Brooklyn's history, and so far we're not seeing anything. So either he makes the moves now or he gets off this team and leaves and we hire somebody else. Like the ball is in his court right now.
So just to confirm, we're all taking Cam over Sean Marks, right?
Yeah.
I am.
Okay. I mean, this is my point. Like, Sean Marks just needs to go. I understand he has an eye for talent and he's made some good draft picks. I'm not saying it's all bad. What I'm saying is that the body of work, his timing, even when we had a championship roster, he made the Harden trade, which I hated, and then he fills out the roster with DeAndre Bembry and Blake Griffin. Like, this is what you do?
And
Like,
Paul
I hated-
Millsap.
I
Don't
hated-
forget Philly
Paul
legend Paul Millsap.
I mean, this is like, and then it makes the Harden for Simmons trade. Then like it's been one disaster after another, and none of this is even defensible, right? It's not like you draft Zion, he gets hurt all the time and plays less than half the game. Like, what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to not. You know what I'm saying? That's defensible. What Sean Marks did, none of it is defensible, and I called this out in real time. And then they could have had Naz Reid and D'Angelo Russell for Kyrie. Instead, they bring in Spencer Dinwiddie and DFS. Spencer Dinwiddie? What? Spencer Dinwiddie is hot garbage. What does Kyle Kuzma call him? Din shitty? Like, this is not a good basketball player. I don't hate
We
Dinwiddie.
should have done the move with the Lakers.
That's the prize
crazy
piece
thing.
you get for Kyrie is Dinwiddie.
No, you know what the crazy thing is, Gary, with the Kyrie move, that was a spiteful move on Joe and Mark's part. He was the only star. They didn't send him where he wanted to go. They said, you know what? We're sending you to Dallas. Well, they went to the finals a year after you did that. Congrats, Sean Marks. You're still stuck with a negative asset in Doe. Well, not negative asset because he's doing better, but you got to get off that asset. But you're stuck with Doe and one pick that you got back for. Meanwhile, the Lakers haven't done nothing in the last few years. They're hanging on a possible retirement from LeBron James right now. We probably could have got one of their Lakers picks for Kyrie Irving. Kyrie and LeBron in this era of basketball compared to the Cavs era, they wouldn't have gotten you the championship, I don't think, if we would have made that move. But given Marks and Cy wanted to be spiteful, they thought, oh, we'll pull off a better move. Well, it didn't work out because Dallas got to the finals last year. Like, Marks doesn't know how to be strategic enough, and that's a problem. He's got to change it up. He's got to make strategic moves. If there's a team that wants to give you a first for Doe or second picks and a prospect, you take it. If a team wants to give you a prospect and a first for Johnson, you take it. Stop holding out for 3 first-round draft picks all the damn time. It's getting annoying.
Well, okay, I'll let you respond to this. Oren asks how DFS is a negative asset when he has the best plus minus on the team.
He wasn't as good to start of the season. Or remember when he was missing 30 3-point shots? I mean, he's hitting 40% now, but at the end of the day, is DFS this offensive top 3 or 4 piece? Heck no. He's a top 5 or 6 with his 3-point shooting.
Here's my point about DFS I've made before, and I want to make it again. If you have a playoff team, the final 4 minutes of the game is DFS on the court in winning time. He is. DFS is a good player.
It depends.
On defense, he is.
He can hit the 3 enough where he's on the court. He is.
It depends on the chemistry of the team, like who else is on there. Because, like I'm going to say to you, Gary, what I'm saying to Oren is plus minus is one of the most misguided type of
It
stats.
is. I agree with you. I agree. It's not a tell-all
Depends
stat.
on who else is on. Depends on the other 5 across from you and your 4 teammates.
Right, like Michael Jordan comes off the court, I go in. Yeah, our plus minus just got better, right? Like I agree with you. That stat is not a tell-all stat. I get it. Like, but when you see guys like Ben Simmons constantly at like minus 20, there's something to that. Like, it's not a great stat. It's not a perfect stat, but when you see a trend and some guy comes in and you go from plus 6 to minus 8, you might want to keep an eye on that. But I ultimately agree with you, LB. Plus minus is a misleading stat to be kind. It's a misleading stat.
I feel like it's almost like a stat that was generated by trying to increase the value of somebody who couldn't actually get it through traditional statistics, right? Well, he's not scoring. Well, he's not rebounding. Hey, but that Draymond Green is whatever, or that what's his name? The guy that we traded for a first round pick. The guy on
Royce O'Neal.
yeah, Royce O'Neal. Yeah, but his plus minus is so and so. It's like, yeah,
Yo, that
There's
trade
another
package
Sean
we
Marks
got for
deal.
Royce O'Neal was abysmal. We should have got Bol for Royce O'Neal. Who'd we get? We got two guys who didn't even crack the rotation for more than 5 minutes combined. Like even
to be
moves like
honest with
that.
you, I was against
Who did we
trading
get
the
for
first
Royce O'Neal? I
round,
don't remember what we got for him.
but I was against
I
trading
gotta
the
try to
first
remember.
round pick. We traded a first round pick to get Royce.
And
I
that's
was
what they were going to
against
do with the Cam Thomas pick. They were going to trade the Cam Thomas pick for some other guy who's no good, who we don't want, who has no value, who adds nothing to the team, and you were going to pass on the opportunity to draft Cam Thomas. KD stepped in and made Sean Marks draft Cam Thomas, right? It's like they were set. It was reported that the Nets were going to trade the pick, and then all of a sudden, right before the pick came in, when Cam Thomas was still available, the Nets weren't going to trade the pick. It was GM Durant was making the pick, and it was the best move Durant made as a GM of the Nets.
And that's even worse when your best stars are the ones making the moves for you. And like, how can we say Marks is a reliable GM when his best moves have been some of his worst moves? The Simmons for Harden thing. Like, first off, you probably should have re-signed Drummond because he still could be in a backup reliable center for you. You just let him go for nothing. Seth Curry, you didn't trade him to anybody. He still could have got you some value back. You let him go for nothing. Like
Seth Curry, I thought we could have got something for him because
yeah.
He's a shooter. And
he can create his own shot. He's not his brother, but he can come up. He can create his own shot.
That's
like I feel like JJ Redick is a fair comp. Like Seth Curry,
yeah.
And that's
and the Bruce Brown move was horrible too.
A team would have wanted him that was going into the playoffs, and to just let his contract expire. That was crazy.
No, and the Bruce. Oh, sorry, Gary.
Lakers, Suns, Nuggets, Philly. They all want DFS. Negative asset is over the top worry. Let's look at the teams. The Lakers, give me Max Christie and a pick. The Philly, give me Kmart Jr. and a pick. Do the Suns and the Nuggets have anything intriguing where they can land DFS from us?
Nuggets
don't, right?
Nah, the only team that makes sense is Philly, and given that they're in one of the biggest holes you can be in this early in the season, I look at a guy like KJ Martin and one of those Clippers picks for Doe. I think we have control with Philly negotiating wise because we don't have to give you DFS, but they need somebody. They have Caleb Martin, and have all of the contending teams. Martin is the smallest power forward. Doe is an automatic upgrade over that. He can be somebody reliable next to Joel Embiid at the end of a game. Like, that's worth giving up a Clippers pick for. And if Philly doesn't want to work with us on that, well, good luck. These other teams, I don't see them wanting to give us a first for Doe right now. Lakers are going to hold out on their picks. Suns, who we have to take back? Jusuf Nurkic? No, I don't want that. Nuggets, they don't have anybody that we could take back.
The Suns have any draft capital left? The Suns have any draft capital?
They got one pick in 2030. But you know who else makes sense? I talked to you about this last night, Gary. The Clippers. They're trying to find somebody for Tucker. Nobody wants to take it on, but I look at this type of deal that I put through the trade system that works.
It's strictly a salary dump, and I'm not opposed to that trade if we can't get a young player for him. If we can get Max Christie or Kenyon Martin Jr., I'd rather do that. But if we can't, then just take the salary dump.
Here's the deal. It's PJ Tucker, Bones Highland, they're 2030 Clippers first and 2 seconds. One of the seconds is owed to Utah, so it's not like we're fleecing them on all those picks for Doe. And here's the thing. The Rockets currently are in second place right now. The Clippers can't afford for the Rockets to be better than them because if the Rockets are better than them, OKC gets a lottery pick. So getting DFS could possibly help the Clippers stay afloat and into the playoffs. So that's a deal that works. And Bones Highland, they're not re-signing him, so it's like a salary dump, see what he can do. If he doesn't do much, you don't lose much for him at the end of the day. I like that deal because we could buy out Tucker. He's not going to be on the team long term. We get Bones, and that 2030 Clippers first is actually a good asset for us. I could see a deal like that if Clippers can't find nobody for Tucker.
I got a question for.
What do you think about that, Gary?
Well, what if?
We'll let LB go first.
I was gonna say if you did the Philly deal, right, and you get KJ Martin, how does that affect our guys' minutes? Because he kind of we have so many guys that play that position. So what do we do? Just let the most productive guy play, or what?
Yeah,
If
I
I
would
get
say
that,
so. So you got to earn your minutes. I mean, was another
yeah.
piece here? He's going to compete for time on the floor just like everybody else.
And the
And
biggest thing is getting the Clippers
let me
pick.
ask you,
That's the
how
one.
do you think that'll turn out? How do you think that'll turn out?
I mean, what I think is
I don't mean wins wise. I just mean in terms of the players. Who do you think will rise to the top? That's what I mean.
KJ Martin is going to be loved here because of his pop.
And because of his hustle and stuff, you know.
Yeah. But he's not. I like KJ Martin. He ain't better than Zaire Williams. I'll tell you right now. Zaire is better than he is.
Right. What about Wilson?
That's tough. I mean, Wilson's more. That's a tough one. I mean, those are the minutes he's going to gun for. You know, I think there's enough minutes to go around, but it's gonna have to bring the best out of Jalen Wilson. Like those are the two guys that you would look at and say, someone earned these minutes.
Yeah,
it's going to be either Wilson or KJ.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that's what I'm looking at too. Like in terms of development, I'm looking at you know, like we got to get some of these guys some minutes. Like right now, Keon Johnson, he doesn't get enough minutes as it is now. He needs more minutes, and I guess he really needs more minutes as the two. So that's why I was saying, well, if Cam were healthy, let's play Cam at the one, and let's get him some minutes at the two to see what he can do. Because we saw from the summer league when he was playing the one, he was struggling a bit against like pressure and stuff. So to me, Keon is really a two guard. But you got to get him some minutes and you know, and see what he can do.
The last question I wanted to ask before we close this out was next 5 games I think is going to be make or break. If the Nets survive this, they have 4 of the next 5 games are at home. If they survive this and they go 3-1, 3-2 on these next 5 games, I think the tank is off. But it's home for Orlando, at Chicago, home for Indiana, home for Milwaukee. Home for 4 of those games. I know Orlando is tough, but if you can split those and win, you know, 2 of the other 3, you're at 500, almost 30 games in. First off, what do you think their record is over that 5 game span? And if they come out of that 500, is the tank off? John, I'll start with you.
Realistically, at this point, if there's no Thomas and Schroeder's getting off days, you probably want to be 1-4, something like that. But I think tonight's game is a huge barometer because you don't have Schroeder. Schroeder's been so impactful, literally, without players on this team during stretches. And now without him, if the Nets respond well tonight and win without him, well, then you can start getting a little worrisome about this tank idea. But it's not an idea; it's what we're supposed to do to get a top pick. But if they don't win without Schroeder tonight, it just goes to show you just how valuable these vets are. And I think the interesting thing people aren't talking about is that the vets are now getting rest days. Dennis is out for personal reasons tonight. He's not injured. Doe was out for like 3-2 games because of ankle soreness, but his ankle's probably 100%. So it's like Sean Marks is trying to rest these guys, but you also got to make the moves at a certain point. You got to just stop talking to teams and wait till the deadline. So I think ideally, if you want to rebuild and get a top pick, you hope for a 1-4. But at this point, the Nets, the way they're playing, they could be 3-5. So it could go either way right now. But I think tonight without Dennis is a big test for me to just see how much grit this team really does have.
If they continue to win, is the tank off? Like if they keep winning these games, is the tank off? Change of plans. We're going for the playoffs. We're ahead of schedule. We're better than expected. If they win 3 out of 2 and then they walk out, what is that? 12-12 after these 5 games.
At the end of the day, Gary, our fate will be decided by the trade deadline, and I feel these vets will be traded by the deadline because if they're not traded, then yeah, this is all called off. But Sean Marks would have to be the most foolish GM to ever live if he did that.
He's in the running. LB.
Well, Gary.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind a 3-2 record, especially since I'm going to the game tonight. So
there you go.
I would mind a 3-2 record. That leaves us at 12-12, right?
Yeah.
And then you know, how many games left do we have?
I'd be 58. Wait, I don't know. Who can do math here? Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be 58 left. So we just need to only win 8 more. That's it. You know?
8-50 would be rough. I mean, you can lose games left and right. 8-50 is
That's what
is
I'm
rough.
saying. Because remember, last year we were only 10-9, right, instead of 9-10 at this time.
Yeah, and they were 13-10 last year, and we all agreed. And is this team better than last year's team, LB? Is it better?
I think they're a better team. I think they're a better team.
I do too. Oren says if they
but I also think with the amount of injuries and everything, I think the league is worse. I think our opponents are worse. You know what I mean?
The conference is weaker for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, Philly's not good. Milwaukee's
played,
not good. Indiana's taking a step backward. The conference is definitely worse.
And I think overall around the league, like guys have just been hurt, so much, So, but I'm saying, and we've taken advantage of that in winning. So I don't mind a 3-2. If we're 12-12, that's enough to rest Jordy to rest his hat on. That yes, he can coach. And now we start doing our manipulations, getting rid of guys, and make it happen. That's how I see it.
If they continue to win, it must mean someone turned into a star. Martin, Wofford, Simmons, etc. Someone.
No, it doesn't.
It ain't going to be Ben Simmons. I can tell you that, Oren.
Yeah, that star's name is Coach Jordy. That's the star of this team.
Jordy's the best. Is the most valuable player on the team. I agree with that. All right, I gotta wrap this up, guys.
All right, thanks a lot.
LB,
show, Gary.
John, tell them where they can find you.
You can find me on X for the short-term future, and then you'll see me on Blue Sky on Instagram under the same thing, LBL for Life 1, and I'll be talking Nets and other stuff. So, and I'm gonna go to the game tonight. So if we want to do something again after, it's all good,
Yeah, let's get LB a win. Let's get it, and then we can. Tank starts tomorrow, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh man, listen, fun show, Gary. Happy Thanksgiving again to everybody. I'm going to actually have some Thanksgiving leftovers right after I get off of here, so that's gonna be a lot of fun. So anybody wants to talk fun basketball with me, you can find me on my Twitter at OS91413John. I'm on various different Brooklyn podcasts because I'm everything BK Nets John. Fun show, everybody.
All right. Appreciate y'all. It's November 29th. Happy belated Thanksgiving from Texas to the world. Thank you, and God bless.
Yep.
Peace.